Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on this free online workshop, How to Get Your Show on Stage, a step-by-step strategic plan to getting your play or musical produced. My name is Ken Davenport. I'm so thankful that you are all here with me today. I'm super excited about it, actually. And the reason I'm excited to teach this online workshop today with all of you is that, frankly, I just like to be around people who do stuff. I like to be around people that say, hey, I want to take the next step. I want to take some action. This is something I want to do, and I'm going to get on that train and get to where I want to go and learn whatever I need to learn and take time out of their busy day in order to do just that. And that's what you've done just by raising your hand and signing up for this online workshop and for joining me here today. So I'm very, very thankful for that, and a pat on the back to all of you for being a doer. So let's get into it. You are the type of person that wants something to happen. You obviously, by signing up for a webinar like How to Get Your Show on Stage, you want to get your show produced. You want to get your show on a stage. And frankly, it doesn't matter where that may be. Maybe you want to get your show produced in a high school. Maybe you want to get your show produced in a regional theater. Maybe you want to get your show produced off-Broadway. Or yes, of course, maybe you want to get your play or musical produced in a big Broadway house. It doesn't matter where the end goal for you is. You just want to see it on stage, right? You just want to see what you've written, what you've produced, what you've helped pull together. You want to see that up in front of an audience. And why not? Right? Why not? That's why we're all in the theater. We want to see our stuff on a stage. And frankly, there's nothing greater. Well, yeah, sure, we'd all love to make lots of money at this. Maybe some of you out there want to be celebrities or be famous. But I would bet, frankly, all that money on that previous slide, that's not why you got into the theater. It's not why any of us get into the theater. Not for money, not for fame, none of it. Frankly, we just want to see our stuff up. And that's because the fact is nothing is more rewarding than seeing your show on a stage. Nothing. Yeah, of course, when you hit it big and follow the plan, keep at it, you will. You will make some money. You will get some notoriety. All that stuff is great. We'll take it, right? Only because it will allow us to do more theater, right? All of you out there, I'm sure you don't just have one idea for a show, you probably have several. Well, success will just allow you to do more of it. So that's a good thing that comes along with success with one project. It usually means that you're able to do it again and again. I'll never forget the first time the curtain rose on my first show. It was an incredible moment. And look, it happened to me. It can happen to you. It can. I know it may seem far out of reach for so many of you, maybe because you just have an idea right now, or you just have an outline, or just the beginnings of a script. But I'm telling you, because it happened to me, you put the time and effort into it, you can get your show on a stage. It's not going to happen overnight. It may take a lot of time. It may take some sweat, some ups and downs. Just like anything else in this world worth fighting for, it's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but it can happen. Right? And you want this to happen, right? You want it. And I know you want it. How? Because you're here. You signed up. You signed up to learn how to put one step in front of the other and get your show on a stage. You said yes. That's what you did. You said, yes, I want my show produced. You acknowledge that you're having some trouble maybe. There's some obstacles in your path, and you can't quite get it there on your own. So you said, yes, I want my show produced, and yes, I need some help. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put you on the path to production right here over the course of this workshop. Right? I'm going to get you going towards getting your show on the stage. I can't do all the work for you, but I'm going to lay out a path and offer you some help in order to do that. Before we get into it, though, I want to get to know some of the folks who are in the room today. Go ahead and chat your name and say hi. Go ahead. I'll let some time pass. Go right ahead. Who's out there? Who's joined us? Who wants to get their show on a stage? Hello, Margaret. Margaret from St. Louis. John from Michigan. Welcome to the workshop. Liz from Chicago. I love the theater scene in Chicago, and you have a great city there, frankly. Sometimes I wish we could move Broadway a little bit to Chicago. Beautiful city and great people. Anyway, thanks for joining me every single person who are chatting it up right there in the chat room. Feel free to do that along the way. And welcome and thanks again for participating in this workshop and for wanting to succeed. I just love it, and you all inspire me. Now, all of you in the chat rooms and all of you listening, stick around to the very end of this webinar. I'm going to tell you how to get a free copy of my book, How to Succeed in the Arts or in Anything. Just stick around to the end, and I will get it to you for free. We sell a bunch of these on Amazon every single day, actually. It comes with a very high rating. You're going to get one for absolutely nothing just for being a part of this webinar, so stick around to the end, okay? All right, now back to it. Let's take a look at that path that I told you I would get you on, the road to Broadway. We're going to look at Broadway up there. That's going to be the ultimate end goal. Now, it may not be yours, but it's where we'd all love to get to, right? So we're going to throw it up there at the end of the road. Now, again, I know it may seem impossible to some of you, maybe even daunting to get all the way there from where you are, maybe especially if you're in St. Louis or somewhere else around the country or around the world where I know some of the participants are. And the fact is, it is hard. Okay, there are obstacles, okay, and even some scary monsters along the way. Definitely agents. Agents are scary monsters, and lawyers, right? But we're going to talk about how to navigate those. But again, it is possible to get your shows on a stage. You just need a plan, which is why you're here. Right? And that's why you're going to succeed, because again, you're smart enough to know that you can't do this. You can't get your show all the way to Broadway, off-Broadway, a regional theater without understanding the process, the path, and what you need to do to get your show on a stage. And again, I know I'm sounding repetitive, but let me just drill it home. You can get there. You will get there. How do I know that it's possible? How do I know that you'll get there? Because I was you. Right? I was a 20-something kid alone in my room dreaming of a show on a stage. And maybe you're not 20, maybe you're 30, 40, 50, maybe you're 10. I don't know, but I was you. Okay, look at that. That's a young whippersnapper there sitting in a theater going, boy, I hope to have a show on Broadway one day. I actually took this photo when one of my shows was just about to land off Broadway, just the beginning of my career. And at the beginning of my career, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know how to get this stuff done. I didn't know the path to production or all the steps I needed to take. And I had to figure it out on my own, right? So I vowed one day that when I did make it, when I achieved some level of success, and listen, I'm still trying to get to higher levels myself, but when I did figure out this path and some of the steps that were necessary, absolutely necessary, to take in order to get a show on a stage, that I would make myself available to people like you who were faced with similar issues. That was my promise to myself. I said one day I'm going to start a blog, I'm going to podcast, I'm going to have seminars and workshops just like the one you're on right now to help people get to the next stage. And now I've produced over 20 shows on and off Broadway. Right, all different kinds, some of which I've created myself, some revivals which I've moved from other places around the country and to Broadway. Okay, I've done a ton of shows now. I have a Tony Award and a whole bunch of other awards, nominations, and honors. I'm on the board of the Broadway League, and I've been able to work with some of the industry's top-notch talent along the way, including Robin Goodman, producer of Tony Award-winning producer Avenue Q, who was very nice to say this about me, about smashing the box to pieces. I love thinking outside the box, as you know, and doing things in a non-traditional way. Okay, that's what, frankly, the blog and all this started, for me just trying to think of different ways that I could get information about Broadway out to the world and pull back the curtain on the business of Broadway. I also am fortunate enough to do some work with Andrew Lloyd Webber, who had this to say, as you know, he's someone that has broken new ground over his incredible years of work in this industry and is a huge role model to me and is someone I look up to as I continue to try to break new ground. And then there's, of course, people like you. Right? This is a quote from one of my clients who I've actually took on this path, who I had a show and I said, hey, let's help you get that show to production, and her show got all the way to off-Broadway and now is being done all over the world. So this is what I'm committed to, right? And all of this stuff, and this quote especially, will show you that it is possible. Right? It is possible to go from that kid that was sitting in that theater with those ripped jeans. Did you see those? I mean, how 90s were those? Actually, it was early 2000s, but I was still wearing them. Shows you how fashionable I am. So, yeah, it is possible to go from that kid to producing 20 shows. It is possible for you to go from wherever you are right now. It is possible to get your show on whatever stage you want it. It's just going to take some work. And look, I know maybe you say, oh, Ken had it lucky, he's from this place, or he knew that. No, the truth is, I wasn't a trust fund baby that had $1 billion to play with. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't grow up next to the Kardashians. I wasn't connected that way. I'm just like you, I promise you. And if I can produce shows and write shows and get them on stages around the world, including Broadway, then you can too. You just need to make the commitment, okay? That's what you need to do. You need to say, yes, I'm committed to this goal. Yes, I want my show on a stage, and I'm going to do anything that it takes in order to make it happen. Okay? Nothing pains me more than hearing from people that say they want to get their shows to Broadway, off-Broadway, or beyond, and then they don't do anything about it. But that is not you, right? I'm preaching to the converted, of course, because you signed up for this webinar, you take action. I just want to make sure you're committed to continue taking that action, okay? That what you want is so you're so passionate about what you want, about getting your shows on a stage, that you are willing to do whatever it takes in order to get there. Okay, if you're not, you can turn this workshop off right now, stop, go play Candy Crush, go watch something on Netflix, no problem. I love it. Sometimes I wish I could do those things too. Unfortunately, that's not me, and I'm sure it's not most of you on this workshop. If you're committed, give me that big old yes again. You are committed. I know that, right? You're committed? Yes? Awesome. So let's get your show on a stage. Okay, so how are we going to distill that 25 years of experience I have into this webinar? Well, look, all shows are like snowflakes. Each one of them has their own unique path to production. There's no question about it. Here's, frankly, a graphic that I put together for my blog about how a whole bunch of Tony Award-winning musicals got to Broadway. You can see Billy Elliot and Kinky Boots and Memphis, Spring Awakening, Fun Home, In the Heights, Gentleman's Guide, Book of Mormon, all had very unique paths to Broadway. Okay, so every show is unique in how it's done. Memphis had several, you can see it up here, Memphis had several different out-of-town tryouts. Book of Mormon had 0 out-of-town tryouts. All different, okay? That said, there are some fundamental stopping points along the way that most shows take. They are the fundamentals. It's like basketball. Remember, you had to learn how to dribble and pass and shoot, the fundamentals. Same thing is for putting a show on a stage. There are fundamentals involved. There are mile markers on this path to production. And in this workshop, we're going to go through each and every one. So you leave with an understanding of the plan and the path you need to take to make your dream of getting your show produced come true. So let's look at our agenda, okay? This is the path to production. Number 1, the idea. Number 2, the script. Number 3, the director. Number 4, the reading. Number 5, the workshop. And number 6, the production. These are the 6 mile markers on the way to getting your show on a stage, okay? That's such a boring way to look at it, agendas, right? So let's look at that real path again. Let's look at that road that I drew earlier, and let's imagine it with these 6 signposts, okay? Let's take a look at those signposts. That is your path. That's the road you're going to take, the long and winding road that it can be, but that's what it's going to look like, okay? Are we ready to start down that path? You ready to go? All right, let's put some gas in the car and start driving down the road. Now again, I put Broadway at the end of this path, at the end of the road, because that's all of our big dream, right? But let me remind you that not all shows are set for Broadway. There are many, many successful writers out there that just produce for the high school market. There are shows that have gone to off-Broadway, shows that have just toured Europe, all over the world, okay? So just because if a show doesn't get to Broadway doesn't mean it's not a success, and also all shows don't need to get there. And knowing where your show belongs is frankly one of the most important things that you can do as you develop your show. Okay? Okay, so that's that. Let's get to that first mile marker. Let's get to the idea. Now, ideas for plays or musicals come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but generally there are 2 types of ideas. There's 1, the original idea, and then there's 2, the adaptation. Now, if you're at this stage and you don't have an idea yet, you're going to need to come up with one. But that's okay. Don't worry about it. You're passionate. I want to join the world of the theater. I love the theater. I love going to see plays and musicals, and I want to get one up there. I'm a creative person. Maybe you're an entrepreneur from another industry. Maybe you've just always imagined putting something up on a stage. Maybe you're an inventor. Who knows? But you're going to need an idea if you want to get a show on a stage. You're either going to have to take option number one here, which is the original idea. Let's take a look at a few different examples of those. Dear Evan Hansen is an original idea. Book of Mormon was an original idea. Getting the band back together, my Broadway musical, original idea. And then there are, of course, adaptations. And the fact is, over 80% of Broadway shows are adaptations. Now, why do you think that number is so high? Well, one of the reasons is that source material provides you with a foundation on which you can create your show. And it's easier to just start, oh, there's a plot outline, there's an arc, there are characters. Now, look, that doesn't mean it's easy, okay? But a lot of shows are adaptations because they give you that framework to start out with. And of course, the other reason that a lot of shows are adaptations is that it allows you to go into the very risky Broadway environment with some brand value in a lot of cases, some brand recognition. Okay? If you're doing Mean Girls, for example, even if you're doing Phantom of the Opera, there is some name recognition with those shows that allows you to get an advantage when you enter the market. So not only did they provide structure, that pre-existing structure that you can lay out your plot or your outline, but also there's brand value that is a reason why 80% of shows are adaptations. Okay? Examples of those, Les Mis, Hamilton, Kinky Boots, all successful shows and all adapted from source material. Les Mis, a book, Kinky Boots, a movie. Hamilton really is an adaptation. They do credit the they do credit the non-fiction book Hamilton by Ron Chernoff on the playbill, but actually it's really Hamilton's life. Okay, that is an adaptation as well. Biographical adaptations do count, even if there isn't a biography on which it's based, right, or any historical event, right? Okay, so most likely you're going to be doing an adaptation just because the stats say that 80% of Broadway shows or theatrical productions are adaptations. That means you're going to need the rights. You're going to need rights. So remember, to create a musical based on a movie, book, music catalog, etc., unless the material is in the public domain, you will need to acquire rights. Movies, books, etc., all protected. Okay, these are all protected by copyright, which means you cannot just say, I'm going to do a musical based on this successful movie without getting the rights in advance. Okay, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of my consulting clients make, is that they come in saying, I've written a whole musical based on, I don't know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which actually just had a musical, right? But this has happened before where people come in saying, I've got a musical based on this super successful Casablanca, whatever it is, and not have the rights, okay? You need the rights to go forward, okay? Unless it's in the public domain. If you're looking for something in the public domain, you can Google, you can find out usually the rules about public domain. But otherwise, you're going to need to get the rights, okay? Now, to get the rights, and I have a whole workshop based on this in the Producer's Perspective Pro, which you could check out. But the brief summary is on this. My suggestion is that you hire a lawyer or a general manager to reach out and try to get those rights for you, to at least ascertain if they're available, rather than do it yourself. You can do it yourself. You can try to contact the movie studio or the book publishing company or whatever it is that you're trying to acquire. It's very challenging, and usually these days, because Broadway is so hot and so much source material is very valuable, and they know Broadway rights are valuable, they're very nervous about relinquishing those rights to people that don't have a track record in the industry. So if that's you, you may want to think about hiring someone to do this for you. Okay. Now, do get the rights early. I do inquire all my folks to reach out and try to inquire at least if those rights are available, because again, so many people I know write scripts, songs, full musicals without getting those rights. The common thing is, oh, once once I show them my show, it will be so good that they will give me the rights. Okay? The fact is that may be true, but those rights just may not be available. They may have been sold to someone else, and I don't want to see you heartbroken. So my big tip here is inquire about the rights to a project early, or get someone to do it for you, to save yourself time and heartbreak. And the heartbreak is punishing, because I've been there. The reason I have this as a tip is I have done this. Okay, I've gotten a little further along in my head than I should have, inquired about the rights, I couldn't get them, and then I was devastated. But more than the devastation and the heartbreak, which you can get over in this business, you're going to have to, you're going to be heartbroken at some point, you're just wasting time. And if you can't get an idea to a stage because the rights aren't available, I want you on to your next idea. Right? I want you to get a show to a stage. And if through no fault of your own and you can't control the fact when rights are going to be available or not, then let's move on to something else, okay? Because I want you to get something. You obviously have passion about getting your show on a stage. If your rights aren't available, let's get something else. There are 1,000 great ideas out there, guys. 1,000 of them. You will come up with another one, I promise you, if you give yourself the freedom to do that. So it is not the end of the story if the rights aren't available. It's just on to the next story. Okay? Once you do have that idea, maybe you have the rights or you're doing an original idea, it's time to go on to the next stage. It's time to get that idea out of your head and onto a page. You need to write or have a script written. And we're on to the second signpost, guys. That's where we're headed already, stage number 2. Now, this is where most of my consulting clients are when they first meet me. They have a script. They have a script, and they're ready to see that script on a stage. Okay? Now, just because you have that script doesn't mean you're ready to throw it up and have it fully produced. Okay? There are a number of steps, as you now know, before that final production stage. Most importantly, it's really crucial you realize that a script is going to go through many different versions before it gets up. A script goes through many different versions in previews of a Broadway show, never mind this far away from your ultimate destination. Okay, it's going to be rewritten, and rewritten again before it gets in front of the final audience. Okay, one of the most common mistakes that writers make is that while they understand they need to make changes, they only rely on themselves as their editor, right? Oh, I'm just going to keep rewriting and rewriting. That's a mistake. You need to be objective. And one of the things you can do to help yourself be objective is get some outside assistance. So if you have a script ready to go, what I recommend is to have your script evaluated by a professional before you have it seen on a stage. Right? You want to be a professional, right? Well, all pro athletes have coaches. Right? Baseball players have coaches, chess players have coaches. Why wouldn't a writer have a coach? You need an objective expert to tell you what's working and what isn't, especially if you're a new writer, new to the stage, maybe you've written screenplays, etc. You want your shows professionally evaluated. So have your script covered. Okay, this is called script coverage, or hire a dramaturg or someone outside to really dig in and offer you assistance before you do your next rewrite. Rewriting is great, but after a while you will lose objectivity just when you're staring at your screen all the time. So make sure you get some objective opinions. Get some friends to read it, get some other theater people to read it, and yes, get a professional to read it for you and evaluate it for you, especially if you are getting close to getting it in front of people or showing it to people. You want it reviewed before producers look at it, agents look at it, etc. Okay? The other simple thing I encourage all my clients to do, and anyone looking to have producers read their script, is to make sure it's properly formatted. Look, you want your material read, right? You don't want to be embarrassed or looked unprofessional. Well, making it easy to read will increase the likelihood that it's going to get read, right? You need to have it read. Imagine something scrawled down on a piece of paper or something typewritten. Now, those are extreme examples, but the typewritten is easier to read, right? Well-formatted scripts in proper professional formatting are also much easier to read and shows people like me, agents, etc., that we are working with a professional here. So the big tip is making your script easier to read will increase the likelihood that it will be read. Very simple. There are a basic set of rules, guidelines as to how your script should be formatted and presented to people like me. Okay? You want to follow these rules. okay? It just tells us that we're dealing with someone that knows our rules, that is playing our game, okay? That we're not dealing with someone that is new. And even if you are new, it doesn't matter. This is a way to say, this is a seasoned professional. And you just have a better shot at getting your stuff read, okay? I suggest writers use Final Draft. This is the official script writing software for most writers. It's used for screenwriters mostly. There are some musical and play formats in there. You can make your own templates, which is what I recommend, to customize to more of a classic playwriting and easy to read format. Okay, but I will tell you the Final Draft helps me write faster and helps me write better. Okay, so using something like this, super important. But you can also use Microsoft Word or any proper word processing software. Okay, if you don't know how to use Final Draft, it can be a little tricky. Find someone who does and learn it. Okay, learn it, because it will again help you write faster. And my goal as a consultant, my goal here in this workshop, I just want you to achieve your goals. I want to get you to them faster than you can get on your own. And Final Draft is a very simple tool that helps do that. Okay, all right. So once you have your script and you have it properly formatted and been vetted by a pro, you'd be without a doubt in a better position to sell it, right? So once you're there, you're ready to journey on to the next stage on the path to production. Now this is a very important stage because it's arguably the most important position that you're going to have on your team besides yourself, and that is your director. Your director is your captain of your ship. Now, why is this person the most important person in this process? Well, as I say often, which is hard for writers to even remember sometimes because we spend so much time in front of our screens, plays were not meant to be read. They were meant to be seen, right? Yes, we're printing out a script and handing it to people, but that's not the format that they were meant to be consumed, right? They're not novels. They were meant to be put on a stage and seen and heard. And the person responsible for taking the work off a page and onto the stage is the director. Director is traditionally responsible for many, many things that shape the production. I'm going to go through some of them right now. Okay? A director provides dramaturgy. A director chooses the design team. Director stages the production. A director encourages actors to work on the show. A director can even attract investors, regional theaters, and more. Okay, it's a crucial position. It can make or break a show. In fact, Andrew Lloyd Webber said that one of the reasons Phantom is the phenomenal success that it is because of its director, Hal Prince. So after your script is in shape, it needs a director to take it to the next level. Otherwise, it'll sit idle on your desk, and no one wants anything sitting idle. We need to get your show to a stage. So you must find a director at this stage in your journey. How? Well, very carefully, because the wrong director can have the reverse effect. I could list the names of dozens or more Broadway shows that have flopped because of the wrong director. Or worse, shows that never get out of the gate, never happened. Now, we don't want that to happen to you, right? God, nothing would be heart-crushing if your show never got to where it deserves to be if you didn't have a director involved. And here's the big tip. Find a director that enhances your show artistically and also enhances the business value of your production. This goes back to that bullet point I had on a couple of slides ago, how the right director can attract investors, actors, regional theater. This is true, right? Hal Prince once told me directly, you want a show to happen, get me to direct it. And what he was saying is that people can come aboard a show because of the director that's involved. And the right director will attract other people, big stars, investors, theaters, etc. Okay? So these are tricky to find, these folks, but they are out there, and it's worth putting in time and resources to do a big search to find the right person. Doesn't have to be an A-lister or an A-plus lister. It just has to be the right person, someone super passionate about your show that also can bring some other value to it. And when you find that person, that's when things get very, very exciting. Because if you had the right director, you'd be poised for success, yes? Right, if you could attract investors, if you could attract actors, if you had a brilliant dramaturge, all those things, if you checked all those boxes on that list I had before, you'd be ready to go, right? That's when you'll advance to the next step on your path, which is the reading. Now things get fun, okay? Because we are going to start putting the show together, okay? Now a reading, if you've never heard that expression before, is much more than just a reading, okay? Much more exciting. This is when we're going to take your script for a real test drive, because we've got your director, we've got your actors, we're actually going to add an audience, okay? For a reading, the director and actors will rehearse for a short period of time, and then they'll present the show to an invited audience, okay? Now that audience can frankly be 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, okay? It's a small audience, it's an invited audience. It's an audience that I say, my tip on this is don't invite people to a reading unless they would come to another one, right? You want people that understand the process here, okay? Because they are not going to see the completed show. They are not going to see a fully realized production. The director and actors for a reading will rehearse for a short period of time, and then they will present the show to an invited audience. The readings are not staged or choreographed usually. They're designed just to hear the words, music, or lyrics. Now, readings have gotten much bigger and more produced here on Broadway over the years, but they can be super, super minimalistic, or they can be done full out, okay? Now, these readings are very, very important in your production's life cycle. Here are 2 reasons why readings are uber important. Number 1, they can attract investors and other producers. And number 2, they're a litmus test for the strength of your material. Now, both of these reasons are why it's important that these readings are not just tossed together. They can't just be, oh, let's just do this thing and invite a whole bunch of people and see what happens. They have to be thought through, planned, and really strategized. Everything down from the choice of location, right, to whether you have catering at these readings can actually impact on how the material is received. So you want to really develop a plan for this stage. It's a very important stage. My tip here is to get someone to help you with this, usually a general manager. Hire a general manager to take care of the logistics of the reading so you can focus on the more important things, like the creative. Okay, readings are when scripts will go through a good chunk of changes because you're working with a director, you're working with actors. You want to be able to focus on that if you're the writer. Even if you're the producer, you want to be supporting the writer and the director and the actors is what they need. Hire someone to handle whether they're going to be bagels, okay? You don't want to have to deal with that, all right? You don't want to be mired down with space requests and all this stuff. If you're a writer, you want to be worrying about the script. If you're a producer, you want to be worrying about the investors. So don't be penny wise and pound foolish here. If you can do it, hire a general manager, because frankly, you can't do it all, and you frankly shouldn't do it all. Well, you probably can do it all. You're probably a type A person, but again, that doesn't mean you should, and it probably doesn't mean you can do it all very well. The success of a first reading can determine how you march forward to the next stage, or whether you march forward at all, or whether you stand still or take a step back. No one wants to take a step back. No one wants to stand still, am I right? So make sure you do this in the right way. Surround yourself. Start to build your team. You have a director on board. General manager is the next person to help guide you through to the next stage, okay? It's very exciting at this point. This is when you're going to see it at least on its feet. They may not be dancing yet, but you will have actors singing songs, reading the script. I want that for you, and I want you to be able to focus on it, and I want it to be able to come off very, very well, okay? Now, you put that reading together. It all goes well. Let's talk about what's next. The next signpost, the workshop, okay? When a reading goes well, the show is ready to get out from behind those music stands that usually are in front of everyone at readings because people can't memorize them in the short rehearsal period. Stand up from those chairs and get it staged. Now, this is usually done in what we call a workshop, or that's the traditional phrase. On Broadway now, we call them a lab, and I think a lab is a very good term to describe them. It's not just a contractual term and a union term, but because labs are for experimentation. More script work is going to be done in a lab. There's a lot more work on the score, cuts and trims and additions. But this is also where the director and choreographer, if you've got a musical, are going to start staging and choreographing some of the material that you've been working so hard on. So really the show is going to come to life now. Maybe you'll even have some representation of sets and props and maybe even some rehearsal clothes. It's like a prototype of the full production. Now, sometimes these labs or workshops can actually be replaced by out-of-town or regional productions as you're marching towards Broadway. Okay, sometimes you can do both. You can do a lab or workshop, then you can go to a regional out of town before you come into Broadway or off Broadway. Sometimes they're combined. I just want to mention that here because we don't have a separate stage for an out of town, but this could be that. Okay, I am a huge believer in trying to do a lab or workshop before you have any paying audience. Okay. My big tip, again, it's always beneficial to stage the show for yourself before you stage it for an audience. Remember, shows were not designed to just be read or heard. They were meant to be seen. Movement, transitions, all these things can impact your storytelling and how your story is received by your audience, right? You want to make sure you are successful in how you're communicating your message. One of the forms of communication is staging. You don't want to stage the show for the first time in front of a paying audience. Do a workshop or lab before it. Okay? You want to be able to see what works. Is there enough dance? Is it the right amount of dance? Working this out without the pressure of an opening audience also gives you more chances to change things. Okay? And again, labs and workshops, these are a huge place to start to build out your team. Okay? It's a great place to gather investors, co-producers, promotional partners. Maybe you want to partner with some, I don't know, some company that is aligned with your message, right? You want to get some company aboard. Maybe you have a certain type of food that's served in the show itself or that's talked about. Sweeney Todd and meat pies. Maybe you want to partner with a meat pie company. I don't know. That's actually probably a very strange idea considering what Sweeney Todd is about. But this is a time where you can invite the meat pie company in. Hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want to partner with us before you get it up? Okay, so promotional partners, another great place to do it. Group sales agents are also great to invite. Ticketing partners, people to get a clue as to what your show's about so they can start pitching it to their clients. Okay? All sorts of types of people that could help your show start to get the word out about your show early. Okay? But especially number 1 and 2, investors and co-producers, great place to court them at labs and workshops. And once you've completed your lab or your workshop, you are ready for that next stage. And that next stage is for that full paying audience. You're ready for a production. You're there. Now, this production could also mean that out-of-town tryout that I talked about. Could be that regional theater, could be that off-Broadway theater, could be a Broadway theater, right? You're there. You made it. You followed the steps and you're there, right? All right. Not that easy. Not that easy. Because between the lab and the workshop, you're going to need a lot of things to happen. To get a full production, you're going to need a theater. Getting a Broadway theater is super challenging these days. There are only 41 of them. You've got to convince the theater owners to give you that theater. You're going to need a full creative administrative team, an advertising agency, marketing team, that design team, right? Sound designers, lighting designers, etc., depending on the scope of your production. And you're going to need money. You're going to have to raise money from those investors and co-producers. You're going to have to raise probably more money than you think you need. Okay? But when you get those things, you will have your show up on its feet and fully produced. And hopefully this is what you will get. You will see and hear an audience reacting. You will see your show on a stage. The most glorious moments for me in the theater are when I go to my shows and I watch not actually what's on the stage. I turn around and watch that audience reacting to something that I've helped pull together. And there's nothing more thrilling than seeing smiles on faces and hearing an audience respond to a message on that stage, whatever it is. And I so wish it for all of you. And it's why I put together this path to production, which can get you all on your way. It can get you here. So let's recap it, shall we? This is the path to production. This is your road to Broadway. It starts out with this idea, an original or adaptation, right? You're going to get that idea to a script. You're going to get it out on paper. You're going to write it yourself. You're going to hire another writer. You're going to find another writer. You're going to get that script covered, get it analyzed, very professional, get it in the proper format so that you can attract a director, most important part and most important position on a show. The captain of the ship. Shows were not meant to be read, they were meant to be seen. The director is going to help do that. The first step that director is going to take is going to do a reading of that show. We're going to see how it sounds, right? We're going to invite a small audience. We're going to get some reactions. Right? It's the first step is hearing that thing out loud. Then we're going to take it to the next step after that and get it to a workshop where for the first time it's going to be the staging is going to be tried out, choreography is going to be tried out, maybe some rehearsal clothes, and it's going to be that prototype, what will eventually be in a full production, which is the final and ultimate destination, wherever that may be for you, whether that's off-Broadway, high school, regional, or Broadway. These are the simple 6 steps that you need to take. And however daunting it may be, I'm telling you, if you just focus on one at a time, today you work on the idea, maybe all week you work on the idea, maybe all month you work on the idea, then all next month you work on the script, and then next the director. In 6 months you'd have a production. That would be super fast in our industry, but it can happen. All that you have to do is follow these steps. And the production, it can lead to so many things, right? It can lead to that money that I know will help you do more theater, help you create more theater, quit your day job, do whatever you want to do. It could lead to awards for you, right? And all that stuff would just lead to you being able to do the theater. And all that stuff, money, awards, notoriety, all of it will just allow you to spend more time working on what I know you love and what I love, which is the theater, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if we could all do this full time? That's all we had to do 24 hours a day. Following steps, getting one show up leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, until you get that oil well, which allows you to do this all time. I promise you, right? It allows you to have careers like Neil Simon had, who just had a ton of shows, or this guy, show after show after show. You can get there, but it all starts with that first show. Remember, Stephen Sondheim didn't even start off composing shows, right? He was a lyricist on Broadway well before he was the successful composer that we all know. And who wouldn't want to be those guys, right? We'd all like to be them, right? That's why I want to help you get on your path to production. And I'll tell you in just a minute how you can get a free copy of my book, How to Succeed in the Arts or in Anything. In just about 60 seconds, I'm going to get to that, which I promise you, so hang in there with me. But I want to show you how to get your show up first. Why? Look, my company has a goal. I established a very ambitious goal several months ago. I want to help get 5,000 shows produced by 2025. That's my goal. I want to facilitate the production of 5,000 shows over the next 7 years. Ambitious, I know. That's why I've created workshops like this in order to help you be one of those 5,000, okay? We already are well on our way to achieving our goal of 5,000 by 2025. We've got some great success stories. Here are a couple quotes from clients of mine who we've helped achieve success and get their shows up on a stage. Both of these clients came to me with shows that they were looking to get up and now have been up here in New York City. We've assisted, as you can see, with marketing and advertising and getting someone on the path to actually lead producing as well. Why do we want to do this? Why? Well, it's very simple. I believe that the more theater there is in the world, the better the world is. It's my simple statement. So I am dedicated to the goal of getting 5,000 more shows out there by 2025. Actually, it's less than 5,000 now because we've been able to achieve some success already. So I want to help you do that. If you need help getting on the path to production, and you've raised your hand and joined this workshop, so I assume you do need some assistance here. I'm going to help you, and I want to do it. It's totally free. There are no obligations here whatsoever. I want to schedule a free consult for you with a member of my team to help you determine where you are on the path and what you need to get to the next step. That's right, totally free consult for you. All you have to do to schedule the free consult, and this is how you get a free copy of my book, is visit theproducersperspective.com/path. Okay? If you visit that website right now, you can schedule a free consult with a member of my team who will do a quick assessment of where you are and how to get you to the next level. Okay? Again, part of our goal, this, as you can imagine, takes a lot of time for my team, but we are totally dedicated to doing it because as a thank you to you signing up and just having the passion to want to get your show produced. I was one of you. I know what it's like to be there and go, gosh, I just need some help. If I could just get a little boost, whether that's inspiration or whether that's actual practical advice on everything from getting a director to raising money to getting agents in regional theaters, we want to be able to help you with that. Click that link, type that into your browser right now, schedule that free consult. It is the next step to getting you closer to your goal, and there's absolutely no obligation. We are just here to help. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Break a big old leg wherever you are in your path. I look forward to talking to you soon and getting your show to a stage. Thanks so much.